guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Standard Experience. My safety vest lures angry Christmas early shopper at Walmart. Context. For anybody reading this story and being introduced to me for the very first time, I'm a 40-year-old man and I'm more or less wheelchair bound. Due to an array of previous injuries and degenerative conditions, I can't stand for much longer than 10 minutes, and I can't walk more than 100 feet at a time. This means I can get in/out of my manual, the kind you propel/steer yourself with your hands, wheelchair, get in/out of my car, and walk the short distance from my car to the entrances of establishments. I have a green/yellow safety vest I wear while I operate my wheelchair so I'm easier to see when I'm wheeling around stores and parking lots. I've also added, thanks to the advice of users in this subreddit, reflective strips to the chair itself. I'm from Vancouver, Washington, so I got to say that some drivers around here, and even pedestrians, are some of the most unobservant people I've ever had the misfortune of encountering. This vest is generic, just one I picked up from Walmart years ago. Unfortunately, since other chain supermarkets employ reflective vests for some of their employees, the fact that I wear this vest for my safety tends to prompt the idea in people's minds that I work at one of these stores. I have stories where I've helped people, including a devastated and crying lost elderly man, who were just in a sad/bad situation and they needed help. I give it to them under these circumstances whether I work there or not, because that's just who I am. People like the subject of this story, and other Karens, are the ones that boil my blood. Now, onto the story. The event. Due to the death of my beloved car, I'm now having to use my husband's car. This has forced me to either go to the store before he heads off to work around 1500, 3 p.m., or after midnight. More often than not I'd go the latter, but my female roommate needed a ride to Walmart to pick up some things. Part of the way I contribute to the house I live in is by giving her rides, since I can't work in any of the fields I'm qualified/trained for/experienced with. So off we went around 1230 hours. Female roommate and I go our separate ways as I begin to wheel myself over to the electronics section to price out newer/better dash cams, and some other gadgets I've had my eye on. For a bit more of additional context, at this Walmart the employees wear these gray and light blue trimmed vests, while the managers wear the bright yellow/blue vests most people normally see when shopping at a Walmart. My vest is neon green/yellow, with safety cone orange trim. Virtually night and day in terms of looking alike. Before I know it, I can hear the heavy-booted footsteps of what I could only imagine as a large man behind me. "Hey!" he bellows. I turn myself around to aim my front towards his body, and put my hands on the top of my wheel grips and appraise the man. He was about 6'1", or 6'2", white, and looked like working out was his entire life. Think 80s era muscleheads, and pro wrestlers. He had tattoos on his arms that honestly led me to believe he didn't pay over $50 for them. I mean all of them, they were that crummy. He had on a backwards Seattle Seahawks generic dark blue ball cap, a tank top displaying the logo of some plumbing company, and jeans so tight on his frame I'm entirely convinced they were painted on, coupled with shoes that looked so expensive they likely came with their own free luxury car at time of purchase. A real muscle Chad. So let's just call him M. Chad. Hello. I greet in my English accent. "Hey, I've been trying to find a censored rep for half an hour. Where the hell have you guys been? I got 6 video games I got to buy for my kids and stepkids for Christmas, and I got to be at work pretty soon. Where the blue censored are all you guys? Did you all take your breaks at the same time?" he barked, his questions given more and more projection with each word. Wow, that was a lot tossed my way at once, sir. Please give me just a second to answer your grievances one at a time. 1. I don't know where the other reps are, I'm curious about that myself. 2. Sorry to hear about your predicament. 3. I've no idea the policy regarding sales reps' break times, because I don't work here. Sure. I know Walmart likes to hire cripples and censored people, but damn. Either you're one of the most stupid employees on the planet, or you're a censored tool wheeling yourself around with that vest on so you can screw with people, he accused. I chuckle with bemused annoyance. Welcome to our /IDontWorkHereLady where the customer is always wrong. I jab. The censored? Are you talking about? What's r/I don't work here, lady? Confused, he grunts in my direction. You don't? Well, I guess I'll go ask somebody else, thanks for your time. And I just take that cue to wheel away. He bellows some rather uninspired insults in my direction, most of them ending in or what. I wheel over to one of the managers, and indicate to them that Chad is incensed and likely needs a manager. I told her that he seemed to be quite the Karen type, and was going to ask for one anyway to either complain about not being able to find a rep, or the fact he misidentified me as a rep, and I got a bit snarky with him. She thanked me, and left. I managed to reconnect with my roommate, gather her purchases, and leave. Not super prolonged, or explosive, but still worth mentioning to me. The next story is titled Don't Park in My Driveway. So when we first moved to Texas, our house was behind a pasture. As the years went on, the pasture became schools. Every weekend there was some kind of event or sport, something going on at one of the two schools, and there was never enough parking, so of course people parked in our neighborhood. This is the story of Mr. Red Pickup, MRP. Well, MRP loves to park in our driveway. I don't know why. Maybe he liked the white brick of the house, or that it was near the corner, I don't know, but he loved to park in our driveway every weekend, and I don't mean politely, I mean he's park in the dead center like those a-holes who park over the line. Well, my parents would leave notes on his car for a few weeks, till one week we found a letter taped to our door. Hi, this is MRP, please stop leaving these notes on my truck or I will have to phone the police for harassment. My kid has his sporting events and there's never parking. It's not hurting you to let me park here, so just leave me alone. Well, you can imagine how fast my parents called the cops, and once they explained and showed the time-stamped pics of every time he'd parked there, he was towed. And as an added dose of sweet karma, the tow truck pulled off with his car just as he was rounding the corner to my house. He got to watch his car roll away. Karma was issued, as well as a trespassing and harassment tickets. He turned as red as his truck. At least his kid won his race. The next story is titled A Hole Keeps Parking in My Driveway, Texas. Was just going to call a tow truck, but when I told him a warning, he just yelled, "If you get my work truck towed, I will ducking sue for getting me fired," or something like that. I'm %95 sure I'm in the right, but would like some advice just in case. Update: I called the company he works for and they said they will investigate. Update 2: they called me back and put him on the phone, then he apologized. I think he works for his family and that's why I didn't just get fired. Now next week he going to come pick up my yard. He works for a yard care service and I'm having cameras installed before then, so I don't have to worry about him destroying anything. The next story is titled How Do I Don't Work Here Lady at Home to a Rude Lady. Also contains some petty revenge. So, this happened a couple hours ago. But I'm finally getting to take a break and post about it. Our Hoa built a fence around the neighborhood. A lowest bidder type situation. It looks okay. Reddish colored. Tall enough. But the boards are flimsy. It's been a few years and it's starting to fall apart. Nails missing. Boards fell off. So I let the Hoa know about it a few months ago. I've hammered a few boards in to keep my dogs safe when I let them out, but mostly I've been waiting for them to fix it. Needless to say, they haven't touched it in months. So I noticed one of the panels had come loose. No nails in the upper and middle part. Just one in the bottom. Anyone could pull on the fence and walk right into my backyard. I say enough is enough and I go out to fix it all. Replace boards that have fallen from the outside. Put the panels back together and get a solid fence line. My house backs up to a busy street, and when the red light is on, cars back up all the way past my house area. I'm on the outside of my fence trying to get nail holes to line up and screwing things into place. When I become aware of honking noises. Before I can take off my headphones, a large cup of melted ice and watered down soda slams into the fence next to me and splashes its contents on my right side, soaking my shirt and some of my pants. Needless to say, I'm startled. I pull out my headphones and turn to look at the street. The light is green, but a husband and lady are holding up traffic, apparently trying to yell at me and get my attention. When yelling failed, the lady in the passenger seat thought throwing a half-full cup at me was a good way of getting my attention. It worked. I'm looking at her with a WTF look and cars are driving around them honking. I don't even get to say anything before she starts screeching at me. Apparently I need to get off my ass and move down to her fence. She's tired of her fence being crap and no one fixing it. How dare we ignore her fence and start down here? No apologies. No civility. Just harpy screeching and throwing her crap at people. And blocking traffic for everyone else. I'm usually a really nice person. But I'm done with being yelled at for things and putting up with ignorance. so I didn't try to hold back on my anger. I might feel badly later. But for now, I'm more than done. I put my drill down and grab my water and take a few more steps towards them. Attempting to cut her off, I say the obligatory, "I don't work here. I live here." Attempted. She and her husband aren't listening. They are both still going off about their fence and lazy fat useless employees in Hoa. I unscrew the large cap off my water bottle. The water splashes on my fingers. It's ice cold. I finally yell, "I do not work here. Duck off." Both of their faces go full pucker. As the lady draws breath and starts to shriek again, I toss the contents of my water bottle towards their open window. She gets a decent bit to the face, which shuts her up. I doubt I got the hubby, but enough went in the SUV that I know he's annoyed. "And if you ever throw something at me again, I'll beat your goddamned ass." Then, while her screaming and rage is going on, I gather my drill and go back to work. The husband goes to jump out of the SUV, but he's 5'6". 150 tops. I'm 6'1". 300. Lots of fat, but lots of muscle too. Lol. So he yelled at me, but didn't try to make contact. I responded with a finger and he got back in his vehicle and flew off with tires screeching. Went 30 feet and had to stop at the light. Well within my sight and hearing. The F-bombs were glorious. Plus knowing my fence is better than theirs helps. Smile. I shouldn't be surprised at the way people treat people on the job. But did they think going off and yelling at people would actually succeed? Let alone throwing a cup of old soda at me. The next story is titled "I Don't Work Here, Lady, Best Buy Edition." For my job, I work as a regional sales manager for a pretty major consumer/industrial electronics manufacturer, and I specifically work with a lot of the national retail channels, and I will do meetings with a lot of each retailer's leadership and directors in store to discuss product sales, supply chain projections, product marketing, and other various metrics. I also have in-store brand ambassadors who represent our product lineup specifically in Best Buy locations. For starters, when I go into stores, I generally wear dress clothes or something semi-formal with an identification lanyard and a book bag, just so I specifically don't get stopped a bunch of times by customers when I'm trying to complete my job. I usually don't mind helping people out in stores when I can, but I have to be pretty concise with my schedule and I have limited time available to be in the field. On one of my most recent visits, I was meeting with one of my brand ambassadors to complete a performance assessment. When I was walking in, a middle-aged woman grabbed my shoulder. "I cannot stand being touched, so great start," and immediately started asking me about some open box television and what kind of deal I could work for her. I kindly informed her that I was a store visitor that worked with Best Buy leadership, but I didn't represent Best Buy in any way and my brand doesn't sell TVs, so that wasn't my area of expertise. Her response was, "Oh well, you're here now, so I need you to tell me about it and figure out what we can do here," and then followed it up with the pretentiously uppity, "Also, I'm a realtor, so no funny sales tricks," which was strike two. After reluctantly dealing with her for about 15 minutes and finally getting her to make a purchasing decision, she begins to start questioning me as to why the display TVs look 10x better in store than her TV does at home, and why that should be illegal marketing practices. Being fed up at this point, I told her that they use a flash drive of specifically optimized videos and have the TVs professionally calibrated. I also used an analogy relatable to her and said, "Think about it like this, as a realtor, you've sold a home that's absolutely ducking hideous. Let's face it. I'm sure when you staged that home, you put a bunch of beautiful, $5,000 couches, fancy love seats, and a mahogany coffee table in there to really sell the personality of the home. In reality, you just put lipstick on an ugly pig." It's the same thing with any kind of visual product marketing. She ended up apparently trying to file a complaint with the store and district manager, and they informed her they didn't have an employee named U/Quay, so they had no idea who they talked to. The next story is titled "I Don't Work Here. I'm Just tan." I just remembered this story that happened years ago with my mother. I was a preteen then, maybe 10 to 13. I was always told I looked young for my age even then, which was why I was so confused initially. Anyways, I was out with my mom to watch a movie, can't remember what, and made it to the mall complex about an hour earlier to eat and shop. There was a Joann's Craft store nearby, which was essentially a candy store for us crafty nerds, so we headed there first. We split up from each other to browse our respective interests, and I stopped in an aisle with stickers that were completely out of whack. So being the neat freak conscientious middle schooler I was, I decided organizing them. A minute or so in, the lady came by. "Lady, excuse me, do you know where so-and-so is? Me, huh? Lady, do you know where so-and-so is? Me, huh? Sorry, I don't know. Lady, incredulous, you don't know? Me, I don't work. Lady, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. With that, the lady scurried away and I was left confused. An actual staff worker popped her head over from the other aisle and asked what happened, and I filled her in. At first I felt guilty because I did look like I was working, but the worker looked right at me and said, "Sweetie, I can assure you, you do not look like you work here." That's when I remember what I looked like. Dressed from head to toe with my cringy, Hot Topic-esque tomboy aesthetic with muddy black sneakers, torn black jeans, a large black t-shirt with some sort of anime on it, and a black cap that needed to be washed 2 years ago, covered in RAR XD-esque pins. I looked like an 8-year-old dressing up as Insecurity for Halloween. It was bad back then. I just wandered off to look for my mom, feeling all sorts of confused. So much so, I didn't mention it to my mom. What would I even say? Some lady thought I worked there and then freaked out? It was just an honest mistake, right? It could have been possible the lady was so focused on me organizing she skipped the fact that I obviously didn't work there. It didn't make sense why she was so mortified. The whole thing and her reaction just felt weird. I couldn't explain why. Not until I ran into the lady again. I don't remember if we were going to watch the movie or leaving, but we crossed paths with her and a dude she was with. Literally turned the corner and boom, she was there. As soon as she saw my mom and I, she turned bright red and power walked past, dragging her guy with her. My mom began to say something along the lines of, "Huh, that was weird." And I was about to tell her the awkward encounter until she continued with, "I wasn't expecting to run into her again." My mother then went on to explain that when we had been separated, she stopped at the fabric counter to get some pieces cut. While she waited in line, the lady had approached her, thinking her to be an employee. Unlike with me, when my mom corrected her, the lady evolved into, you guessed it, a Karen. Neither my mother, the customer ahead of my mom, nor the employee behind the counter could convince this lady that my mom didn't work there. Finally, my mom asked why the heck she would think she was an employee if she wasn't even wearing their apron or any signifier, and the lady replied, "You look like you work here." The argument came to a halt. There was a pause as my mom looked at the lady. The lady stared back, eyes wide over her own words. My mom and I are Latina. While I don't believe many of the employees were at the time, it wasn't the first time my mother was mistaken to be a retail worker, fast food employee. Heck, she was mistaken to be my nanny when I was younger and fairer skinned. What my mom was a middle school teacher. And she knew the middle school teacher stare. She stared down the lady and said in the most even tone possible, "I don't work here. I'm just tan." With that, the lady started to apologize endlessly and ran away from my mother with her tail between her legs. Only to go to the other end of the store and confuse me as an employee as well. Even with all of that, I'm still not sure if the lady had racially profiled me. There are just so many weird, conflicting factors that even now, I scratch my head over it. I'd like to think that it was a normal misunderstanding, although I don't have much of an excuse for her encounter with my mother. I'd like to think whatever the case, my mom's middle school teacher stare helped her think twice about assuming. And that the revelation of my part solidified that lesson. The next story is titled "I Just Pick Up Here." I work for a courier service that picks up medical samples. I have to go to different locations to pick up, one being Coves. They keep the samples in a box that is inconveniently located at the bottom of the check-in kiosk but about 2 feet to the right. I get there and there is a young guy checking in, so I excuse myself, squat and grab what I came for. I thank the guy for understanding and off I go. As I'm walking down the aisles to leave, I notice that I'm being followed, so I speed up to not be in the way. I catch a glimpse of who it was, and it was the same guy who was checking in. I walk even faster out the store and to my car, and the guy keeps pace. At this point I'm thinking that maybe he's parked next to me, so maybe it isn't that weird. I get to my car, stop and open it, turn, and I see him just standing there looking at me. So I let out, "Am I in your way? Is your car on the other side of mine?" The guy responded with, "I thought you told me to follow you. Don't you work at the clinic?" I reply, "No, I said thank you to you and I was just picking up here. I don't work here." We both just awkwardly laugh off the misunderstanding and he strolls back inside. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.